So guys, let's get down to business. So here things will get a little bit kind of complicated, but just follow up and it's going to be fine, okay? You don't need to panic much. If you're in non-Tkinter Python for a while, just follow up and you understand. So now we are going to start building the main stuff. So first things first, let's do a string var, okay? So I'll explain why I'm doing a string var. So this string var is used to get the instance of the input field. So we are going to use this string var, and this string var is always going to give us what we have put in the input field, so we could easily get it and do our calculations. Okay, so what we are going to use here is a string var, and the string var is going to always give us what is in the input field. Let's say you type in 9 plus 3, the string var holds 9 plus 3. Want to calculate, we simply get what the string var has and we calculate. Okay, so first things first, we create a variable. We'll call it the input text. Pretty explicit, I guess. Input text that says what the string var is going to carry, the input text, and it's going to be called string var, like said above. So string var, and we're done with that. So now we want to create the frame for the input field. So create the frame, the input field. Okay guys, the input field. Now let's do that. So we spoke about frames in the introduction, so we are to create a frame. That frame is going to hold only the input field. Okay, so we want to embody the input field in a frame. Okay guys, so we put that in a frame. So let's say input frame. Say the input frame is going to be equals to, call the frame method, and in the frame method the frame is going to stand on the window, right? On the window. That is going to be our root, so we named it win, and we give it a width. We say that thing should be 312. Now the width, it should extend all through, like we gave the geometry to be 312 by 324. So want that input field to extend everywhere from left to right, so it gives you the full width of 312. Okay guys, and let's say we want it to have a height of 50, so it should be 50 tall. Okay, 50 units tall. So guys, after adding the border, I want to add something else, like let's add something new. Okay, so we have the highlight background. Hope I'm spelling it correctly guys. Highlight background is going to be black. Okay, the name is self-explanatory, I guess. It's the background when highlighted. So we have now the highlight color. Highlight color is still going to be black. Okay, then want to give it some highlight thickness, so highlight, do this right, highlight thickness, it's pretty long, right? Highlight thickness is going to be equal to 2. So now we are done with the frame. Are we sure we are done? No, we are not done. So let us put it on the window. Yes, correct. So now we are supposed to place it on our window. How do we do that? So guys, I want to show you a new way of doing this. So we'll use the dot pack. Okay, when you use dot pack, like pack, sorry, when you use the dot pack, okay, what dot pack will do is it is going to take it and center it, right? Top center, right? So you can say where you want to center it, but it's going to take it and just center it on your window. So we are going to take the input frame and we'll pack it, right? Dot pack, and let's specify one thing. Should it be packed at the top or at the bottom? We want to pack it at the top, so we say side equals to top, or in caps, sorry guys. So side equals to top. We have done the frame. So if you save and run this, I don't think you will see anything guys, nothing. Oh, you see something, right? You pretty see something. So That is what we just did right now. So how come you see this? Due to all these other new things we added, right? So now the highlight thickness there is to all this background border and all this stuff gave us this nice looking frame. This here is going to be like your calculator screen, guys. You get the point? This is going to be like your screen. So let's continue. After doing the frame, now let's do something else. So let's create now an input field inside the frame. Okay, so create an input field inside the frame, guys. So an input field inside the frame. So how do we create an input field? They will give a name input field. Input field is going to be equals to entry. Don't forget it's an entry. And this entry, where should it be placed? It should be placed on our input frame. Right, guys, it should be placed on our input frame. And let's say we want to give it a font. Now let's now give it a font family. Okay, so it should be part of a family. In the other video we just gave it a style and a size, so here let's give it a font family. And here we want to use Arial. Okay, we use Arial, give it a font size of, let's say, 18, quite big, and we want to make it bold. Okay, so make it bold. We're done with the font. Now this entry, it should have a text variable. Okay, and that text variable is going to be what? The input text, right, guys? So give it a text variable. It's going to be equals to input text. Now the width, how long it should be, the width goes to, let's say, 50. And now we have our background. So here for the background, you can give it either colors like blue, red, green and stuff, or you can give it hex codes. Okay, so you give it hex codes, and the hex code I'm going to use here is going to be hashtag EEE. Okay, so that's going to be somehow kind of white, so that's hashtag EEE. I want to give it a border of 0. Okay, and now if we allow this, it's going to start from the left. So let's just do this real quick and I'll show what I mean. Now let us place it on the input frame, right? Since we are putting it on the input frame, not more on the window, because the frame is stacked on the window and the field, the entry, is stacked on the input frame. So now let's put it on that input frame. So what are we going to put? We are going to put, right, guys? Yes. So here I want to use dot pack. If you said place or grid, any of them, fine, you're still correct. Okay, so here, guys, now you know what, we'll use the dot grid. Okay, let's use dot grid. So I will say input field dot grid. Let's try something new today. So input field dot grid. Now the dot grid, you have to specify two things, the row and the column. Okay, so since it's at the beginning of the frame and that is the only thing we are putting in the frame, we are starting at row 0, right? And we are starting also at column 0. Okay, guys, row 0 and column 0. Now let's put something else. Go to the input field. Okay, and we want to pack something. So let's pack, and we put the iPad Y is equals to 0. Now is the iPad Y. Our iPad Y is the internal padding to increase the height of the input field. Okay, that is what iPad Y is going to do. So let's save this and do a quick run and see. Okay, guys, now you start typing and you see it looks pretty beautiful. But now I don't want it to start from the left. I want this thing to start from the right. I want to start from the right going to the left. So let's add that option here. So here, after the border, I'm going to set that option called justify. Okay, and I'm going to put it equals to right. Yes, so I'll put it equals to right, and I save that and do a quick run. It should start from the right. So you see guys, it's starting from the right. That looks pretty cool. Okay guys, so we are done with our input field. Now what is next? Now let's create another frame for the button. Okay, I told you we'll have two frames for the input field and for the button. So let's create another frame below the input frame. So here, create create another frame for the buttons, below the input frame. Okay, so we're creating another frame that will carry our buttons, right? Like a container that's going to carry all the buttons, right? Carrying buttons. So let's get to it. So let's call it btn. Like btn stands for button. Btn frame equals to frame, and this frame is going to be on the window. I hope you know that, window. And the width for this, yeah, you should take all the width, right? So give it to width of, and this I want to give it a height. The height here is going to be 270, and now you see 272.5. yeah guys, so just play around with these figures. Okay, play around with them to get what you want. And the background, put a background here of, let's say, gray. Yes, gray is cool, so put a gray background for that frame, and then we are going to pack this frame. Okay, so it's just going to centralize everything. btn underscore frame, what did I do? Sorry, btn underscore frame dot pack. Now let's test this and see if it works, guys. Okay, now you understand what I mean now by a frame under another. So this is the first frame and this is the second frame that is all grayed out. Okay, what if, now let's leave it this way. Okay, it looks really pretty nice to me, so we can continue. Now the next thing, after doing this, let's start adding some buttons on that frame, right? Yes, some buttons on the frame. So we'll have them in different rows. So we are going to have, I think, if I'm right, like 4 rows or 5. So let's code it and see. So we have the first row. Now what is the first row going to have? So the first row is going to have the clear button and the divide button. Okay, so we have the clear button and the divide button. Let me add this real quick up here. So the clear, so we'll have clear and divide. Let's add the clear button. So we'll call it clear, and it's going to be equals to a button, since you're adding a button, and it's going to be placed on the btn frame, sorry, on the btn frame. And the text for clear is simply going to be capital C. Okay, and then we give it a foreground color, right? So that C should be all black, and give it a width. So the button width, want it to be real big. Okay, so we give it a width of 32, and we give it a height. Give it a height of, let's say, 3. Yeah, 3. And we give it a border of 0. Yeah, and let's give it the background color, my favorite color so far, cyan. Give it background color of cyan, making it really pretty and shiny. And yeah, so we're going to add something new called the cursor. Okay, so how should the cursor, when you hover on that button, look like? So we'll add a cursor. Cursor is equals to, let's give it hand 2. It's hand 1 and it's hand 2. I'm going to show you the difference in a minute. So let's now place this clear button on our window. So we take clear dot, let's do 3. Okay, since we're working with rows and columns, which is going to be very easy for us. So we say this is going to be at row 0 and it's going to be at colon 0, right? Simple. Now let's add something more to it. We want this button to be really big, okay? So we want it to span over more than one column. If we just run this, it's going to be just at one kind of place, okay? So we want to take a place of 3 buttons, okay? So it should be long at 3 columns. So that's what we say column span. So column span is equal to 3. So it's going to take 3 columns, right? Then we have pad x. So padding in the x direction is going to be 1 and the padding in the y direction is going to be 1. Let's save this and run. Run. So guys, let's run this and see. Okay, an error. Oh my bad. I did not put a comma here. Okay, so make sure you put your commas, okay? It can get real messy. So we run this and boom. So you see our button, right? Our button works and that is it. Very nice clickable button. So we close this and now let's do the divide. I guess you guys can do the divide, so let's just do it together. So divide is going to be equal to a button. This button is going to be placed on the btn frame and we give it a text of a slash because it's a divide. And next we give it a foreground black and we give it a width, width of 10. Give it a height, give it a height of 3. Give it border of 0, background of cyan, and the cursor is going to be equal to hand 2. And now let's grid this. So divide dot grid. So our row is going to be at row 0, right guys? And column, I heard some people say column 1. It cannot be at column 1. Why? Because we had already spanned this one over 3 columns. So we did this column span over 3 columns. It means that this guy should start at column number 3, okay? And then say pad x equals 1 and pad y equals to 1. Okay guys, we save this and let's do a quick run, and this is how it is going to look like. So we have this button, it spanned over 3 columns, okay, and this one came and started from the 3rd column going right, and it's all on this row 0. Since this is the new frame, it starts from the top row 0, the next will go to row 1, the next will go to row 2. I hope you see how it works. Then we have column 0, column 1, column 2, and so forth and so on. So let's continue. So we are done with the first row. Congrats guys, first row done. So let's get to the second row, okay? And the second row is going to comprise of the numbers 7, 8, 9 and the multiply button. So we'll have 7, 8, 9 and star. 7, 8, 9 and star. So let's add them. So for 7, it's going to be called 7 and it's going to be button, yes? And it's going to be placed on the btn frame and the text is going to be 7. Yes, right guess. The text is going to be 7. Give it a foreground of black. Give it a foreground of black. We give it a width of 10. Give it a height of 3. Border equals to 0. Give it a background now. We don't want it to be cyan, okay? We want it to be white. So give it a background of follow this hex code, hashtag FFF is going to give you nice white background, and still our cursor, sorry, our cursor is going to be, yes, hand 2, hand 2. Okay, now let's grid 7. So 7 dot grid, where is my full stop? 7 dot grid, 7 dot grid. Now it's going to be at row, yes, row 1. So we have it at row 1, and the column is going to be at column 0. Yeah guys, you're on point. So it's going to be at column 0 because we are starting under the other one, that's the clear, that is row 1. I want to start from the almost left, so that's going to be at column 0. Okay, yes, column 0. Now don't forget your padding X and padding Y, give them 1 1, and that is it guys. So we save this, don't forget to save your work, and you run. This is our 7. Okay, this is 7. So guys, with this line of code we could get every other button. So here I will copy this, I'm going to copy and I will paste it 3 times. Okay, so this is for 8. Oh no guys, okay, this is for 9, and this is for our star. So here we simply change the names. We have 8, we have 8. Here the text is going to be 8. We allow everything up here unchanged, and we work on the grid. So since 7 was at column 0, 8 will go to column 1. Yes, you're correct guys. And here is going to be 9. This one is going to be 9, and here we have 9. Okay, now since this 8 was at column 1, this goes to column 2, right? Yes guys, now we have multiply, right? We just call it multiply since it's the multiplication sign. Multiply, we change this to a star, and now since that was at column 2, it will go to column 3. Correct. So let's run this and see guys. So we have the first row, we have the first row of our calculator. So with this guys, I'm going to pause the video now and just get quick codes. Okay, you can do it, you just copy these same codes and you paste them for the others. Okay, let me give you a draft on how the third row should look like so you guys can get your hands dirty. The third row should comprise of 4 5 6 4 5 6, and yes, you could put minus or plus, but here I'm going to put a minus. Okay, let's say the fourth row is going to comprise of the fourth row. Yes, the fourth row is going to comprise of, we have 3 2 1 and a plus. Okay, yes, and a plus, oh sorry, and a plus. So guys, we do that right now and I'm going to meet you in a bit. Okay guys, we are back. So I hope you were able to add the third and the fourth row. If not, this is where you can see as I've done it here, right? So this is all you were supposed to do. You just had to do the number 4 for the third row, give it a text of 4, everything else remains the same. And since we were done with the first row, you come down to row number 2, you maintain the column 0 since it's going to be the first button. Okay, same for 5, same for 6, and same for the minus, right? All in row 2, the column changes, right? Since it moves from left to right, so the column changes. It's going to be on one line, the row remains the same. Same thing for the fourth row, right? So let me show you quick how it's supposed to look, and this is how it is. So if you did everything right, you are supposed to come out with this at the end. Don't bother guys, the codes for this project will be put down in the description below to my GitHub. where you can get the code, the source code, and do it yourself. So let's add the last but not the least, the last yes, the last row. So the fifth row, no, fifth row, guys. And what is going to be in this fifth row? We will have the zero. Okay, we have the zero, we will have the point for decimals, and we'll have the equal to. Okay, let's get there. Fifth row, let's say we have zero. So we have zero. Zero is going to be equal to a button. Okay, and this button is going to be inside our btn frame. And what next? We have a text. We give it a text, and it's going to be 0. Give it an FG of black. Everything remains the same, guys. Give it a width. Now here we want the 0 to be a little bit big too. Okay, so give it its own width of 21. Okay, 21, and we give it a height. The height of, let's say, 3. Yes, guys, a height of 3, and the border 0, and our background BG is going to be our hex code #FFF, and our cursor is going to be equal to hand 2. Oh, I did not specify this, so hand 2. Okay, guys, close that. Now let's grid the 0. So 0 dot grid. Okay, 0 dot grid is going to be row at row 4, since we are at the last row, so give it row 4, and this is going to be the first item. I color 0. Since we want the button to be big, let's make it to span over multiple columns. Okay, so give it a column span of, let's say, 2. Okay, 2 is enough, and pad x is going to be equal to 1, pad y is equal to 1. Okay, we are done with the 0. Like this, I can copy this line of code here and paste it for the remaining 2 buttons. So I paste it here. What did I do? I did not copy well, guys, so I just copy this again and I paste it here, the 0, and I paste it here. I paste for the point and for the equal to. So this, I call it point. These 2 goes points. Okay, and the text here is going to be a dot. Okay, I reduce the width. The width goes back to default 10, and the colon, it should not be 1. Okay, since we have already column span 2, it starts at position 2. Remove this column span here, it's not necessary, and this one is good to go. Let's come here for the equal, right? So equal. Okay, and the text here is going to be an equal sign, and the width back to default 10. Remove the column span, guys, remove the column span, and the colon is going to be, yes, correct, at colon 2. So we save this and let's give a test run and see what we have. Okay, error, I did not put a comma here. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Let's run this once more. And okay, so we are done. You can see we have the interface for our calculator, right? We have it here. So this is how the calculator looks, and this is what we have built. So with this code right here, guys, you have built this calculator. Let's do a quick recap. So what we had here, we had to import Tkinter. Okay, and after that we had to create a basic window. Then we came to the geometry. Okay, the geometry comprised of the size, like this size you see here. This is 312 by 3. Okay, and after that we had a title calculator, and this is it right here. And we had a string var, and this string var was for the input text, so that whatever thing put here, input text is going to always have that instance of what is inside this input field. Okay, so input text will always know what is there. Very intelligent. Then we create a frame. This black thing here is the frame we created for the input field. Okay, so we created an input frame, and we created the input field. So here where we can type and stuff, that is the input field that we've created here. And later on we created another frame for the buttons. So under this input frame we had a button frame. So we had a button frame, and the button frame we now created the different buttons. So in the first row we created this guy, and now in the next row we created this other 7, 8 and 9, then with the star. In the third row we created 4, 5, 6 and the minus. In the fourth row we created 1, 2, 3 and the plus. In the fifth row we created the 0, the dot and the equal. So guys, to make this more beautiful, let's add a background color to the star, the plus, the minus and the equal to. Let's do that real quick. So here we have yes, on the multiply, let's give it a BG, let's say cyan. Okay, let's see if this works at this, guys. Okay, there's an error, I think. So it says keyword argument repeated. Okay, now you see the problem, guys. So we had a BG and we were trying to put another BG, and that is not going to work. So what you're supposed to do is you just simply change the content of this BG. Okay, so here at cyan, and you save this, and this should work, guys. Yes, this works. Okay, next thing, let's locate minus and do the same. So we change what is here and we give it cyan. Okay, let's get the other one, the plus, and we give it cyan. Okay guys, and the equal to, we give it cyan too. Yes, so let's save this, guys, and we should try again. And yeah, this looks real quick. As these guys, will call this tutorial video to an end for now. We have done the basic GUI for a calculator. In the next part of this video, we are going to add functionalities to these buttons, and when you click on this equal to, it should give you the answer you want. So guys, hang around and I'll see you in the next video.